We want to turn now to the shooting of Ralph Yarl, that case that happened in Missouri. This week, the family of the 17-year-old filed a civil lawsuit against the 84-year-old white homeowner who shot the teen in April of last year. Now, Yarl had mistakenly gone to Andrew Lester's home to pick up his young brothers when Lester shot him. Scripps News Kansas City reports the civil lawsuit is an attempt to put pressure on Lester's criminal trial, which is scheduled for later this year.
Talking about Ralph Yarl moving forward puts a smile on his mother's face.
We have 2 finalists. Thank you.
The soon-to-be 18-year-old is about to graduate from Staley High School. But being shot has become a part of his life he wants to keep separate.
He still does not like the attention. He wants to be known as a young musician, a caring individual who loves his friends and his family.
His family's decision to proceed with filing a civil lawsuit after the 1-year mark of his shooting.
We stand before you to announce a significant step towards justice and accountability.
It's how they're making sure the only way the accused shooter, Andrew Lester, moves forward is through the justice system.
We wanted to go ahead and move forward with a civil case, considering that we have an elderly assailant who is already using every opportunity to delay the legal process. We want to go after that property. We want to go after all of his resources. We don't want to leave him with a resource or a comfort on earth until there is accountability.
They also feel the Highland Acres Homes Association is liable and should be held responsible for negligence on the night of April 13th.
When Ralph was initially shot and he ran out into that community, the community began a lockdown system. I want to know what led to that lockdown. Was that related to the homeowners association policies and practices that may have delayed Ralph receiving the care that he needed?
A year later,
we are getting there.
They're all set on making sure that Ralph getting there is being the teenager he was before the world knew his name.
We refuse to let Ralph's suffering be in vain.
In Liberty, Alyssa Jackson, KSHB 41 News.
Now, Andrew Lester's trial is scheduled to begin on October 7th. And I'm very happy to say now joining us to discuss the Ralph Yarl case is the attorney for the Yarl family, Lee Merritt. Lee, great to see you. Thank you again for joining me here on the program. Great to see you. Let's begin with just a quick update on how Ralph is doing. It looks like he's doing great, getting ready to graduate. How's he doing?
Ralph is doing well. His family reports that he has finally come to grips to what's happened to him about this time last year. And now he's trying to accept what happened to him, that it is permanently impacted who he is as an individual, but he doesn't want that moment last year on Andrew Lester's steps to be his defining moment.
All right, let's talk about that civil suit now. My big question for you is, we know that a lot of times these civil suits, they get put on hold until the criminal process is done. So why now? Why did you decide now to file this civil suit?
Well, the civil suit gives the family the opportunity to have their day in court. They don't feel particularly represented by the Clay County prosecutor. In this case, his name is Zach Thompson. And the aggressiveness by which he's pursuing Andrew Lester for the horrendous crime that he committed has been, in their opinion, lackluster. They wanted to have their own day in court where they could go after Mr. Lester and his comforts here on earth, his property, his resources in the civil litigation strategy.
It's also interesting in that civil suit, you're suing the HOA. I found that interesting. How do you tie them into this incident?
Well, right now, upon information and belief, the averments that we have in the complaint direct our claims toward the homeowners association, particularly about their bylaws that we haven't had a chance to have a look at yet. But we know that nestled inside of those bylaws, there's often rules and regulations for behavior within the community. And then there is also people in that who are a part of that homeowners association, like Ralph's family used to be, and other families in that community who say that Mr. Lester had a reputation in that neighborhood that may have come under the homeowners association's bylaws concerning his propensity towards violence, concerning his racial animus, and all of those things are things that we're hoping to pursue in the civil action.
All right, now you've got the civil case, of course, you've got the criminal case. Have you been satisfied at all? And I know you mentioned earlier you don't think that things are moving along fast enough. Have you been satisfied with the way this case is being prosecuted? Are you is the family, are you in communication with prosecutors? They seem to be open to this prosecution.
Yeah. Ralph Yarl was shot in his face for ringing his neighbor's doorbell accidentally over a year ago. After he was shot, he fell to the ground. He was shot a second time in his arm. He was 16 years old. He is barely 100 pounds. This is a serious crime. And I believe that if justice was moving forward the way I expect that it ought to, that Andrew Lester would at least have spent a day in jail by now. And if for whatever reason that couldn't happen, we certainly would expect this case to go to trial. We will be pushing for a trial date that accommodates the family. Right now, the trial begins after Ralph goes to college, at a moment in his life where he would like to move on, but more importantly, at a moment in his life where his memory is going to begin to change about that trauma that happened to him as 16, as an 18, as a 19-year-old, however long this trial is delayed. It's going to impact the credibility of the evidence. So we want to move forward with our civil suit to get that evidence on record, to get it before a court, so that the family will at least have a shot at accountability.
All right, good stuff. And finally, again, we do have the criminal case, we have the civil case. So what does justice now look like? I hear the family saying in the package that we saw that they really want to keep his memory and keep fighting for him. What does justice look like for them in this case, both in terms of the civil case and the criminal case?
You know, the way that Ralph and his mother, Miss Cleo Nagby, explained what justice looks like to them is that they want, at the end of our litigation and at the end of the criminal case, to ensure that they help create a community where this kind of thing never happens again. And, you know, that's not a huge act. In most industrialized worlds and most modern nations, little black boys who ring the doorbell don't get shot in the face. And so if we need to go after the homeowners association to ensure that they put in policies to stop this kind of racial hatred and violence in their communities, if we need to go after Mr. Lester and his assets and his freedom in order to prove that black boys matter, that their lives matter, that their lives will be protected, then we want to do that to the full extent of the law. And that's justice to us.
All right, fair enough. Lee Merritt, thank you so much for taking out the time to talk with us this evening. Truly appreciate it. You have a great evening, folks.